This is video 3 of the last 2 other videos I just recorded and uploaded. I'm probably try to upload them in the order that I recorded them. So this one is how I found God, or a higher power, whatever you want to put it. And hear me out, hear me out. If you're an atheist, this and that, and you don't believe in nothing, that's cool. Because that was my position for my first 18 years of life. 19 going on 20 was like 50-50. I'm like, nah, it's some shit, you know? And now I'm turning 25 this year, so I spend more of my time not believing in anything than believing in something. So let me start from when I was a kiddo, you know? Just like everyone else, your parents, I'm Mexican, so they're like Catholic and shit, you know? If you're any other race, whatever, you're probably like Catholic, Christian, whatever. I know some people that are Muslim that are kind of in my beliefs, like ways, I guess. And ever since I was a youngin', and we went to church and shit, that shit was like forced on us. So you know, I just off rip, just off that, I'm like, bro, I don't want to do something I don't want to do. So just being in church was a fucking drag to me, respectfully. And you know, I wasn't dealt the best hand when it comes to this life shit. You know, what I was born into and what I grew up with. And I'm not gonna go into details. A lot of shit as I get older is pretty exclusive to your boy in terms of trauma and shit. But that's beside the point. Yeah, I remember, you know, the fam was going through a tough time. I remember somebody telling me, I think probably like your grandparents, something like, yeah, just pray, you know, just pray, blah, 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 pray, ask God for this and that. And I remember being in the shower one time. This is like third grade. I'm like 8, 9 years old. And I remember I'm in the shower and I just feel like this, you know, I'm just thinking about what's going on, and I'm like, fuck, bro, like I literally got on my knees in the shower, water running on me, and I'm like, God, like, what's up, man? Like, why the fuck I gotta go through this? Like, help me out. Like, I don't know how to pray. You know, I'm trying to pray, and I just felt like that shit was goofy, like that whole act. And I was like, I think I waited a little bit, and you know, I'm fucking 8, 9 years old, so I wait probably like a week or two, and shit tends to get worse. So I'm like, God, you ain't, respectfully, this is me speaking from as a 8 and 9 year old. I'm like, man, fuck, hold on, low battery. I'm like, man, I don't even want to say this shit is fucking disrespectful, you know, like F God along those lines. I'm literally flipping off the cross we got in my parents' room. I'm like, why you letting this happen? Like, you're not real, this and that, you know, that little thing. And from then, I decided, you know, God isn't real, this and that. And I stuck with that mentality until I was like 18 and shit. Like probably into my 20s when I started questioning shit, because you know some shit is like, huh, you know, some, if you know, you know, you get it, you understand, you don't talk about some shit is like higher powered. And through interviews and, you know, shit that people that I tend to idolize and look up to, I guess, like they've all giving their props and thanks to God and everything. And I'm just, after a while, you know, that shit used to turn me off to even people I would look up to. Like, what? I used to look at people that believe in God like, you're a goofy. Like, I don't even want to associate with you type shit unless you're really cool. I'm like, nah, like, how do you just believe in God? Especially these successful people. I'm like, you're trying to give the credit to something you don't even know you're sure exists. And it's like, just take the credit yourself. But that's when that's what would make me question my beliefs too, like as a non-believer and all this shit. And yeah, actually 18 through 20 was probably my worst terms of non-belief. I took this shit to an extreme. Like, this is probably the meat and potatoes of this whole video. My mentality from like 18 to like 20 was like, I wanted to smoke with every fucking religion, belief system, everything. I'm literally like on the daily actively thinking like F God and F Satan, like anything. When I first thought like F God, I was like, I'm not like a fucking devil worshiper or anything. So like, you know, fuck them too, like, cause you're still believing in a mystical thing. But like that's why Satanism and shit was kind of funny and weird to me. People that are like, oh, God doesn't exist, but the devil does. It's like they're both like mythical. They're like two sides of the same coin. That's the realization I had. So I'm like, man, fuck everything for all of them, Buddhism, everything, any type of religion. And that's when like I was also doing. I was most active when it comes to like, well, I was kind of active, not mostly active with my, psychedelics. So I'm really locked into that shit. I'm really believing this shit. And man, I would have like good days, but then the bad days would outweigh the fuck out of the good days. And I was just going through shit like thinking of scenarios and them happening, manifestation type shit without me actually knowing what it is and like how it works. Like freaky shit, like movie shit. Like I'm literally feeling like I'm in a movie. It's just like I'm just thinking of kind of predictable scenarios that could happen like at work or like, with friends, but it was getting too accurate to the point where I would call it out before it happened, like on some psychic shit. I was freaking myself out, and that would amplify my hatred towards anything higher powered. Like I would constantly believe, like, if God showed up right now, the devil showed up right now, I'm throwing them bitches. Like, I'm active. Like, ain't nobody getting shit on me. Nobody physical. This is when I was real hot headed, Like, I would try to be on some shit with people. And I'm like, I was a big dude. I was wider and bigger than I am now. Shit, 250, but like 20% more general mass. And I know I could fuck some shit up too through like a hospital experience I had when I was kind of in a manic episode, and I had like 8 grown ass men trying to like pin me down, and I'm actively like fighting them on some whole shit. And I know like I just have that within me. I know once I get angry, I'm like in Hulk mode, and anybody can fucking get it. Like I'm 90% confident I could fuck anybody else that's even like 100 pounds bigger than me. Even if you on some shit, like I know you could maybe win, but you're still gonna fucking struggle. Like I have that will in me. Like I can flip that switch at any moment. That's why I'd be wondering why people try to fuck with me. And then it's like, yeah, once I started going through those challenges, I was giving grace and shit through a higher power, I believe. It's like, this shit is wild. Growing up, I felt like karma was somewhat real because every time I did some grimy shit, just out of my own deviousness, I would get like instant karma. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I just paid too much attention. But then I would see other people just be a lot more devious and shit. And on the surface, on the outside, from what I knew them as, it seemed like they were getting away with it. But behind closed doors, the shit that's going on, like when we were kids, like their families are tripping on them. They're like, but you don't see that on the surface. It's kind of shit you see later, I guess, or like, you just find shit out. And what's it called? That's what I'm like now. Like I never know what's going on behind closed doors. Like those people could be going through hell, and but on the outside they did this, they did that. Bada bada bing, bada bada boom. And yeah, just through personally me seeing the karma I was getting, man, I had to chill. It was like, yeah, I realized when I'm doing good, I might face some goofy shit, but not as bad as when I'm actively in the negative, like trying to do people dirty or some shit, like just looking for an opportunity to like fuck people over and shit. Nah, bro. That's really the story of how I found God and shit. Just I started going through like synchronistic events, like do your research on that. I don't really feel like explaining, but shit like that, just the timing of shit, like numbers and shit popping up right when like an event happens or a certain thought happens, and just shit playing out. Really like spiritual shit that I like. That's why when I explain spiritual shit and like mystical, otherworldly shit, I'm like, bro, I used to not believe in anything for like 20 years. Like I had this deep hatred for shit, and like I feel like I tested the higher powers, and they were like, "Oh, you gonna learn today, little boy." And I did, but I feel like I got some type of notoriety from that same higher power to be like, yeah, you got some nuts on you, my boy, but like you gonna have to know your place for real. And like anybody that doesn't believe or doesn't really take like higher power shit seriously, karma shit, spiritual. I know how this sounds. Like you probably clicked off the video, like You probably thinking I'm full of shit. Like, shut your ass up. Like, I know, I know. But you know, some people just aren't in that thing. You know, they're not really chosen. I guess. Like, this shit I've been through that I can't even explain. I don't even bother no more. But that's really it. Kind of my mentality. I don't wish bad on nobody, even if you cross me. Like, yeah, you'll piss me the fuck off, but I know to let that shit go. And like, you're gonna get dealt with one way or another. Yeah, man. That's really it. That's all I had to say, I think. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out the homies car.